Chuck Crosby, Crosby Law Office. We've talked about this. You hear me mention, folks, about Chuck doing wills. This one speaks to that. Tiffany sent us an email. She's got a problem with her mom. In the email, she says mom has dementia or onset of dementia, and she's getting worse. She says, no will or power of attorney in place. And this is kind of a two-part question, Chuck. She says, is it too late for her to get a will or a power of attorney? And the second part of this question is she's wondering what are the legal documents should she get for her mom? That's a good point for everybody listening. So let's start with how we determine whether someone can perform and get a will. Chuck?
Well, first off, competency is what you got to have. Okay. I'm not a medical doctor. I'm not going to be able to determine whether someone is competent, but there are kind of signs. And one of those signs is if the doctor has given you a diagnosis of Alzheimer's or dementia. I won't prepare any documentation for someone with that diagnosis. That's just that seems to be a red line for me. Mm-hmm. Now, technically, you are presumed to be competent until adjudicated otherwise. Okay, So while my line may be a little, earlier than some people, I just don't do that. Now, that being said, like I said, if you have not been adjudicated, that means a court hasn't said you're incompetent, and you don't have a diagnosis. Well, then the things that you're looking for are a will. Okay, you want to get a will so your stuff is parceled out as you would want. Second thing, and something that I think is possibly more important, or at least in my line of work, comes in more handy. Is the power of attorney. It's a durable power of attorney. It lists pretty much every single thing that a person can do, and it gives this other person the authority to do that, including a healthcare surrogate, so that medical decisions can be made and that sort of thing. So the doctors will talk to you, so you have the information to make those medical decisions. I think in a living will, that's always a good thing to have. But once you need that power of attorney, it's too late. Mm-hmm. Okay, it's just going to be too late at that point. Now, what if you haven't got all that stuff and the person is incompetent? Well, all hope is not lost. You can have the person adjudicated incompetent and have a guardian appointed. Now, that process typically takes about 3 months. Okay, and you're going to have to go back to court to do anything with real estate and get the court's permission to sell or mortgage or anything like that, a process that also can take up to 3 months. So if you think that that's something that needs to be done sooner rather than later is always my suggestion.
This is a very tough conversation for any child to have with their parents.
Of course it is. Yeah. Of course it is.
So, folks, let me give you an out on this. Tell your parent that you were listening to this radio show, this one here, the little real estate show, and we were talking about this, and we stressed how important it is for parents to have a will in place and also a power of attorney, and use that as the crutch to start the conversation if it's obviously a tough conversation to have. Chuck, I think that's a good idea, right?
Yeah, it is. As I always say, throw the attorney under the bus.
Yeah. Or Bob. Throw me as well.
I've got tire tracks all over me.
Yeah, and I've got wide broad shoulders. Yeah, got it.
Yeah. The idea is the power of attorney, even if a person's not ready to talk about their death. Well, power of attorney relates to while you're alive. What if you slip and fall and crack your head? I mean, it's a good thing to have, even if you aren't ready to talk about your mortality. Yeah. And trust me, I'm going through it with family members who didn't think they were, ever going to die, and now everything they've got is intestate. It's crazy, but do it early. Do it for your kids. I mean, after a person passes away, you're not around to see the fallout, but your kids are going to have to pick up all the pieces.
Yeah.